And as far as this entire debate is concerned, we are getting more updates. Now, Arun Jaitley has written a blog, and this on the NRC issue. He says that this entire debate really is a fight for sovereignty versus vote bank politics. That's what Arun Jaitley has said. Remember, Arun Jaitley, who's recovering, of course, with health issues, has been writing a series of blogs targeting opposition and calling out what he calls their hypocrisy. So even as Mamata Banerjee tries to garner support from party lines across the opposition spectrum on the NRC issue, because she's really the one that's fighting this the most, even making very objectionable comments, Arun Jaitley has written a blog saying that as far as this citizenship debate is concerned, this is really a fight for sovereignty for Indian citizens versus vote bank politics. Clearly, he's hitting out at the likes of Mamata Banerjee. Let's go across to our editor, Niranjan. He's joining us from our Mumbai newsroom with more details on that blog. Niranjan.
Yeah, going through what Jaitley has just blogged on the foreigners debate, he says it's a debate between sovereignty and vote banks. He's gone on to quote Zulfikar Ali Bhutto from his book Myth of Independence, talking about how it would be wrong that Kashmir is the only issue that divides India and Pakistan, though undoubtedly the most significant. One at least is nearly as important as the Kashmir dispute is that of Assam, and some districts of India are joining East Pakistan. To these, Pakistan has very good claims. He goes on to talk about how in the pre-1971 era, till he became more favorably inclined to India, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the then East Pakistan leader, in his book Eastern Pakistan, observed, because Eastern Pakistan must have sufficient land for its expansion, and because Assam has abundant forest and mineral sources, coal, petroleum, etc., Eastern Pakistan must include Assam to be financially and economically strong. So he's going on to talk about how both Pakistan as it exists today and Bangladesh in the past have gone on to talk about the importance of Assam and drawing that parallel to the current situation of Assam. He's asking a question: who are the citizens of India? The citizenship of India is recognized from Article 5 to 11 of the Constitution of India. No citizenship can be granted in violation of these provisions. The law relating to citizenship, which regulates the grant of citizenship by birth, registration, descent and naturalization. Section 6A deals with the special provisions of citizenship covered by 1985 Assam Accord. Now he goes on to talk about the consequences of illegal migration. He says 21 years ago on May 6, 1997, the then Home Minister Indrajit Gupta told Parliament there were over 10 million illegal immigrants residing in India, of which 5.4 million were in West Bengal, 4 million in Assam. Needless to say that this figure has increased ever since. The consequence of this was analysed by the Honourable Supreme Court, and he goes on to talk about how this case was between the present Chief Minister Sarvananda Sonowal versus Union of India in 2005, where the court held, and it goes on to talk about what the court observed back then about the dangerous consequences of large-scale illegal migration. Now, as he goes on to detail what has happened in the past, he says nobody could have put it better, and he goes on to quote the Supreme Court. He says the two accords by Mrs. Gandhi and Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, something that the BJP has been saying inside Parliament. He says subsequent to the creation of Bangladesh in 1971, Indian and Bangladeshi Prime Ministers entered into an agreement in February 1972. The Government of India on 30th of September 1972 sent out a circular that those Bangladeshi nationals who had come to India before 25th of March were to be detected, but those who entered India in or after the said date were to be repatriated. This is what Mrs. Indira Gandhi's commitment to India and people of this nation was. And then he goes on to talk about the Assam Accord signed on the 15th of August 1984, Rajiv Gandhi government committing to three categories. One, those who came prior to 1st of January 1966 would continue to be on India's electoral rolls. Second, foreigners who came to Assam after 1966 but before 1971 would be dealt with under the provisions of the Foreigners Act and Foreigners Tribunal. And then he goes on to talk about historically what has been happening, and then the big important news point of how the BJP chief has locked horns with Mamata Banerjee. The mention of West Bengal not being far behind. He says, to put it in the words of the Trinamool Congress leader and the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, who stated in Lok Sabha, remember that clip, Shivani, that we played out yesterday, and the excerpts of what Mamata has been saying. Infiltration in Bengal, this is Mamata Banerjee in 2005. Infiltration in Bengal has become a disaster now. You can see the Bangladeshi as well as Indian names in the list. I have both Bangladeshi and the Indian voters list. This is a very serious matter. I would like to know when it will be discussed in the House. So he goes on to talk about history of it. But just one last part and I'll hand it back to you, Shivani. He says, I reiterated what I've stated earlier. The Congress was the mainstream party on Indian politics. It has increasingly started taking fringe position, siding with the Tukade gang. With one such illustration, it is now compromising the sovereignty of India. Leaders like Rahul and Mamata must realize that India's sovereignty is not a plaything. Sovereignty and citizenship are the soul of India. Imported vote banks are not. Handing it back to you, sir.
Niranjan, appreciate you joining us, taking us through that very hard-hitting and factual blog by Arun Jaitley with a lot of historical references, putting the citizenship debate and the NRC issue in Assam into perspective.